Hi guys, MTech Guy here, and today I thought I'd bring you guys along with me for a drive through town here, and we'll take a look at whether the E60 M5 makes for a good daily driver or not, and what most owners use the car for, what purpose it serves, whether it's a daily driver, a garage queen, a weekend toy, or whether it's just a bit of a project car, whether you bought the car with a few issues initially and you're working through it, a bit of a hobby car, you know. For anybody that's interested today, going through town on a nice smooth drive, so driving 400 horsepower setting, the SMG's in the third setting, automatic. So this is a question I get asked quite frequently, whether I daily drive my E60 M5 or not. Now, when I first bought this car, I bought it with the intention that it would be used as a weekend toy. So I just drive it at the weekends, sometimes in the evenings, and then it's a bit of a hobby car as well. You know, I enjoy working on it, as you can see in most of my videos. But the more I got asked this question, the more I started to think, well, on paper, these cars make for a really good daily driver. Now, I'm 40 years old now, but back when I was in my early 20s, back in England, I used to daily drive a Corvette, and that was my main form of transport. I did that for about 3 years. I didn't have a wife and kids at the time, so the car was very impractical. It was a two-seater. It had a big thirsty V8 engine. It's a fairly big size car for England, and the roads are quite narrow there. And of course it was a left-hand drive as well, so not the most practical car, but I drove that car, did everything in it. You know, went to work, to and from work every day. When I did the weekly shopping in it, I had to run around town doing errands that are usually quite boring, but it made every trip a real joy. You know, it was really nice to drive that car and really cool, but really impractical car. Now, like I say, on paper, the E60 M5 looks like it'll make for a really good daily driver. You know, you've got a nice looking super saloon. Seats 5 people in comfort. Got plenty of room in the boot, in the trunk there, and even the back seats have got the clips for the kids' car seats. And it's an exhilarating car to drive with this engine, this gearbox, so I don't think the question should be, should you daily drive your E60 M5? It should be, well, why don't you? You know, it seems like the perfect car for a car enthusiast. Well, I think it comes down to a couple of things. I know for myself especially, I don't know about you guys, but I think the first thing being they are very thirsty cars. These engines love to drink fuel. Now, there are a lot of special cars out there you could use as a daily driver that are pretty thirsty, but I think with this engine it almost crosses the line on what's really reasonable, you know. I think it's getting into that territory where if you're doing a fair amount of miles every week, it's going to get bloody expensive bloody quickly. So that's one thing to consider. And the other thing is, these cars with the S85 V10 and the SMG gearbox, there are several levels of complexity over and above a regular car. Now, that's what makes it what it is. That's what makes it an exhilarating car to drive and what makes it sound like it does. But along with that comes some extra care that needs to be taken, looking after the car. So the first thing is, you don't want to be driving it away from cold all the time. You want to be letting the car warm up properly before you thrash it, before you get into that high rev range. So if you're in a hurry to get somewhere, if you're running late for a work or a meeting or something like that, it's not really the best car just to be jumping in and go screaming across town in. So that's another thing to consider. But the main second point I was going to get to is that with these cars being reasonably complex over and above a regular car, is that it takes a bit of extra looking after. And if you're daily driving it every day and you put in quite a few miles on the car, you're gonna increase that wear and tear, and then you're gonna have to increase your maintenance schedule, you know, the frequency you maintain it, and parts aren't cheap for these cars, so that's going to be an increased cost over and above just using it as a weekend toy, so that's something else to consider. So they're the main 2 points, or the main 2 reasons that I don't use mine as a daily driver. And as far as Garage Queen goes, I don't think we're in that territory just yet with the E60 M5, you know. It's more of a car that, like an E30 M3, that you use something, you know, to go to cars and coffees, go to car meetings, car shows, club meetings and whatnot. So I think we're way off that with the E60 M5 right now, but I should say in 10 years or so, probably be that kind of car, you know. So there we have it. That's how I use my car. It's a weekend toy. It's not a daily driver. It's not a garage queen. I don't even own a garage. It lives out in the elements. We're pretty lucky here where I live in New Zealand, on the South Island here. The climate's pretty kind to cars. You don't get the rust so much or the dampness. I do keep it under a carport just to keep that sun off it. The UV rays can wreck the paint and the interior fairly rapid. So, but yeah, it lives outside for now anyway. But anyhow, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you use your car for, what purpose it serves for you, whether it's a garage queen, a daily driver, a project car, or a weekend toy. Make sure you let me know in the comments below and give the reasons why you choose to use it for that purpose. I'd love to hear from you guys. Anyway, thanks for checking out the video today, guys. If you found it interesting, make sure you give it a like and subscribe. I'm MTech Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.